All right, so Dotun, um,
Okay.
all right, so it's being recorded right now.
All right, sir.
I want to thank you for taking time. You understand to even have this conversation with me. Um, because I know I just let you know yesterday, but I thought it was just very important for us to have this conversation. Because some days ago I was listening to the last conversation we had, where the podcast that I called "Going from 5K to 500K," and I was just listening to
Yes.
it, and I thought about it. I'm like, "Ah, it would be good to have a follow up on this. You understand? Because as I told you yesterday, a lot of people have this happily ever after mentality about things.
Yeah.
So that's the Hollywood mentality. Everything is perfect after the movie, but then life doesn't work that way. It's from one life is from one you overcome one challenge to the other. As you move up in life. And I just thought, okay, I've had when we did that particular episode talking about
Yes,
how you
sir.
were able to scale up. There was a lot of feedback on that. A lot of people listened to that. Nowadays now when you talk about money, everybody's ears goes up. But when you talk about other softer skills, nobody listens. But then when you talk about money, just put 500K there, everybody's listening. But now I just want to touch base with you again. Although you
Yes,
know
sir.
that with you and I, we talk often from time to time.
Yes, sir.
So there are a lot of things I know about your journey, but I just want us to, come out and talk about it again and just see where you are. And you asked me an important question yesterday. You were like, but I told you that I'm not doing design like that again, and that's a good thing you asked me. But
Yes,
I
sir.
don't want to see this as an expression of design, but an expression of work. And work is an important part of our lives, how we express ourselves in doing work. Although for me, design is always an interesting subject matter to talk about, but then I want to talk with you about your work. And this way, I want you to feel comfortable talking about, even if you, after we spoke in 2021.
Yeah.
Um, Feel free about talking about if there are other expressions of work that you've kind of added to what you're doing right now. So don't feel like it's a design conversation, but a work conversation.
Okay.
All right. So is that cool?
Perfectly fine, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So I think to get right into it, last time we spoke, you were charging 500K. In fact, when we did that podcast, you said you were working on a project at that time and you were being paid 450K.
Yes, sir.
Um, at that time when we had that podcast. Now, if I may ask, are you still charging 500K? Has your rate changed since then?
Well, my rate card now has changed quite a bit. I have three packages. I have my gold, platinum, and what I recently introduced called a custom package. Probably we'll talk about that later. But my gold and platinum package are now 700 to 850,000. Yeah, currently. So the well, maybe I should go into the custom package now. The custom package for me was something that I introduced. I think it was 2022. I looked, you know, one of the things that I'm really happy about when it concerns design was, and I have to give thanks to you for this, was I started to see like the big picture. you know it wasn't just about creating designs and making money. I was looking more at the people now that I am serving. Like for me, I look at, okay, I want to the kind of people that I want to do the work for are like the small and medium businesses, and I'm aware that there are many small businesses that can't afford my rates. And not only that, they probably don't even need all of the deliverables, under my gold and platinum package. So what I did was that I looked at it and I thought, okay, how can I help these people but still do it in a way like this that it will still be like a win-win for the two of us. They can get what they need. Like what I realized talking to some of them is some of them don't need a logo or a brand identity. They just wanted somebody to talk to. Maybe just talk to me about this business idea that I have. I have this idea. It's a bit rough. I would like you to talk to me about it. Talk about who the clients are. Just somebody to sit down with them and help them gain a little bit more clarity. There are others that just need a logo. Now, I know some of our listeners have probably gone on LinkedIn and they've seen those posts or ads where people are like, you don't just need a logo, you need an entire brand identity system. And I understand that. But the truth is, people are at different stages in their work. And they are, like somebody told me once, some people at the point they are, all they really just need is a logo to put up on their display pictures because they are running their business starting out on Facebook. I think you get me. So they don't need like a brand identity, like system at that point, like brand strategy. We go into all the nitty gritty. They don't even have the necessary money and resources to even do all of that anyway. So if we're being realistic, some of them just need something to start out with. So I created that custom package, which I detailed in my rate card. And I'm like, okay, look, let's just sit down. You tell me what you need, right? It is possible that you might need more than what I offer. My custom package also covers that. And it is possible that you might need less. There's no fee attached to a custom package. So it is like, you tell me what you have on board, what you can afford. I'll tell you what we can work with, and then you and I can talk, and then we can come to a win-win agreement. So the custom package is kind of like a way for me to help as many people as I can, deliver what they need while also still getting paid for it, even if it is much less than what I would charge, with my gold and platinum package. And, the only reservation I had about that custom package was, if I put this one up, would people now not just zero in for the custom package and ignore the first two, because it's like gibberish. But I found over time that those that have seen my work and have seen it, the number of people still go for the gold and platinum package and say, this is what we want, leave that custom one. We want all of this together. So it's just a case of we meet the clients and we see what they need and we deliver. So yeah, that's it.
So with your custom package now, how low does that go?
Oh, well, it can go. Sometimes I think it has gone as low as 100,000 before. It has gone as low as 200, 300. Again, it really just depends on the clientele and what they need. Like if I'm just to sit down and talk with the client, it's about their, what they want to do. Maybe it's just a sit down talk conversation. It might be 100, it might be 80. It just depends. And then of course there's also the issue of me personally, where I am. I might look at it as, what, let me just help this person out, because I understand that the design business I'm doing, I think of it in terms of building dreams, right? And helping one another to succeed at what they are doing. And so there might be times that I may just look at it and think, what, forget about it. Just, even if it is 10, 20,000, just bring it. Let me just help you out because I see what you are doing. I believe in what you are doing. Hopefully, maybe we'll work again together in future, even if we don't, all the best. So ultimately, it just depends on me at a whim.
But
Yeah.
do you do free job at all?
Hasn't been a while since I haven't done a free job in a very long time, really.
Okay.
Usually, I would just tell the client that, look, just pay me what you have, right? Okay, what do you have? Oh, I have this amount. Okay, fine. Let's work with that. So it's been a very long time since I've done a free job. Most people don't even approach me for free jobs anyway. So
Okay, because I'm thinking about it. If someone said all they had was 20K, would you work with them?
all right, again, if I look at what the person is doing and I see, okay, I like what this person is going, I think I like what this person is doing, and depending on where I am at that point, I might be persuaded to do it. It's entirely possible.
For
It
20K?
really just depends. Yeah, I might be persuaded. But of
Okay,
course, the person won't. It won't be like the person will come and say, "I want your platinum package, but I only have 20,000." It depends on the deliverables that the person wants. Like maybe if the person says, "I want I want you to maybe look at my logo and critique it or something, or I want you to just talk to me about what I'm building, or stuff like that. Fine, then we can work around it. But of
So
course, the person can't come and say, "Oh, look, I want your platinum package, but I only have 20,000. What can we do?" No.
no. They're not asking for platinum packaging. They're asking for you to design a logo for them at
Okay.
20K. All they have is
Sure.
20K. Not to look at their old logo and advise them, to actually give them that pixel called the logo. Would you
Oh,
do it for
why
20?
not? Why not? I can. Again,
You do
it
it for
depends
20?
on the person. It depends on the person and what the person is building and how I feel on the inside. Like for
Mm,
me, it's a case of my business could also go with like being spirit led. Like
mm.
I can feel good if I feel like, you know what, I feel like God would very much like me to help this person out. I would go ahead and do it without a moment's hesitation. I just treat it as, hey, God, let's help this person out. Let's sort the person and help them on their way. So, yeah.
All right. That's interesting, though. You know, and last time we spoke, which was in 2021, um, you, what we spoke about was you going from 5K to 500K in
Yeah.
6 years. You understand? And that's an incredible feat to go from 5K to 500K in 6 years. That means for
You
every
said that.
year, it's an incredible feat. That means for every year you were seriously increasing your rate, like seriously increasing your rate for you to go from 5K to 500K. If we're going to split that over 6 years in equal parts, how much would you need to increase your rate by every single year to get to 500K?
Ah,
That would be like
but
a good eh, about 100K. You understand? In 6 years, for you to get to 500K from 5K. You understand? About
that is true.
100K
Yeah.
each year. Now, the question now comes to mind now. You are you're charging your maximum right now is 800K, right?
Yeah.
For
850.
okay, 850. All right. So
Yes, sir.
right now, since 2021, you've gotten to 850.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you had 850 and not at 1 million? Like when I hear figures like 850, I'm like, someone that can pay 850 can pay 1 million. You understand?
That's a good question.
Someone that
That's a
can
good
pay
question.
800.
That's a good question,
So
actually. Personally, I don't know. when I raised when I raised it to 800, I just thought, nah, 850. Maybe. Actually, that's a very good question. I should think about myself. Why haven't I changed to 1 million? Because I'm pretty certain, looking back, that some of the people that I charged 850 could have paid 1 million. But
mhm.
don't mind me. That's just me. I really can't give an answer to that. It's just maybe when I'll probably have to go back to my rate card and make some adjustments to it. In fact, I should do that.
Yeah, but how do you come up with 850 in the first place?
Well, like I just decided, all right, I looked at my work. I looked at what's okay. If I was to give the full charge for my logo design and everything else, from that 500, and of course also considering the economy as well. I live in Nigeria here, and prices are constantly increasing and stuff. So I just looked at it and figured, one, I've been working for a while. My delivery has gotten better, much better than before. So, and of course, things in the marketplace have gotten more. So I just increased my prices, like you said. Actually, that's a pretty good number. Initially, I increased it by like 100,000 after a period. Then I increased it by 100,000 again, and yeah, that was it.
Hmm. And has that affected your client retainership? Have there been are there fewer people knocking on your door? Are you getting more no's right now?
Ah, well, I think we talked about this in the last, and actually, if
Hmm.
I'm being honest, the nose started all the way back to when I started charging 200 for
Mm.
work. I can still remember charging 250 for my work, and the person was like, "Ah, yeah, the most expensive I've seen," and refused to pay more. to talk to me again after that as we were chatting on Facebook. And then there was another guy, same thing. When they heard my prices, they just cut off the conversation completely, like don't even talk to me again. So for me, I once I started charging into the 200s, they now started coming. There were less. There were they don't start coming. In fact, I wouldn't even say that they were less because one thing that I realized is no matter what you charge, there will be people that will tell you no, unless of course it's for free. No matter what you charge, somebody with I can still remember when I was charging 10,000. I remember somebody said I should come down to 7. Now that may sound ridiculous now, but that was it. So for me, it's never been a case of there will be no's at every point. Even the person that is charging 20, I'm sure, has gotten a lot of no's from several people. So it's not really about the no's. The no's will be there no matter what you charge anyway. So you might as well
Yeah,
just charge what makes you happy.
yeah, I totally agree. You know that even when you're doing free, say there's no. When you say I do it for free for someone, person will tell you, okay, can I get it tomorrow? Can I? You tell them you can get it next week. Say no, we want to get it tomorrow.
That's
So
true.
there's always a no that comes in,
Yes,
no matter how much you
exactly.
charge. I
Yeah.
know what I really think, because the question I asked you about why you aren't charging 1 million, it's very understandable and very relatable. Because so I don't want you to feel like, oh man, why am I not charging 1 million? Why? It sounds sensible when we talk about it like this. Someone who can pay 800 can pay 1 million. But then that in figures it makes sense. In reality, in actual spiritual term, in the actual spirit of the amount, if I can put it that way, because every amount has a spirit. In the actual spirit of the amount, there's a world of difference. There's the difference between 950 and 1 million. It carries a different spirit.
Yeah.
It takes you might think of it's just 50,000 naira difference, but then that 15,000 naira hurdle is a big mental hurdle for people. And that's why when you said when you got to 200, you got a lot of no's. And that was the same thing for me too. I remember when I was charging 50K, 70K, it was easy. It was easy. But when I got to that charging 150, it became hard. Immediately you start using that 100 and or 100 is a different psychology for people. People just think
Yep.
this is expensive. And so when you kind of so we must understand that in pricing there are benchmarks. And
Yeah.
so 50K is a benchmark. In fact, if you go way back, 5K is a benchmark,
Yeah.
10K is a benchmark,
Yeah.
50K is a benchmark,
Yeah. Like
100K is a benchmark.
I can
Yeah,
still remember someone
those
that
are
said,
yeah.
yeah, back then when it was like, we charge 50, you can charge 50K. Seemed so incredible back then. I was like, wow, this is
Mm,
huge. So I
mm.
understand the benchmark bit. Please
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah, yeah.
Please carry on.
It's just the way it is. 100K is a benchmark, 200 is a benchmark. When you get to 500, you've got into another benchmark. And
Yeah.
when you go 500, 600, that benchmark gets weaker till you get to that 1 million and you've reached a very big benchmark. And so when you tell people that you've gone from 950 to 1 million, you're going to lose a lot of people.
Oh,
When you tell
yes.
people you've gone from 980 to 1 million, you will lose a lot. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and don't feel a need to change your rate to 1 million. You understand? It is a huge psychological hurdle, even for you to get to that stage. I remember when I was working with my partner then, Yinka, and we kind of said for our services we would charge 1 million naira. I truly believe we were not ready for it psychologically. We were ready for it on paper, but psychologically we weren't ready for it. And so we had people that when we told them 1 million, man, they hit us back to 500. Hit us back, as in, and without a fight, we went back there to just go and sit down gently. So we're ready for it psychologically. It takes a while, and so you done very good. You done very good by being able to come to this place where you're still in, increasing your rate, even to the point where you're at 850 right now. But then, what I want to ask right now, now, honestly, to you, do you think, let's talk about a logo right now, a logo, forget about all those other artifacts you put around it, a logo in
Yeah.
itself. as an artifact, a logo, that thing that you give, that I don't know what dimensions, 100, 1000 by 1000 pixels, whatever, how big it is.
Yeah.
Do you think that thing is worth over 500,000?
By itself, actually,
Like,
I wanted to say initially that by itself, just as a pixel and as a design itself, it's probably not worth anything. It's what matters
mm,
is the brand behind it. You understand? Of course. Now, if I'm being frank, there are also other things, like the expertise of the person involved. The you can of course go to 10,000 different people that will be willing to do it for like 5,000 naira, right? But then of course there's also the aspect of you are paying for this person's expertise, you are paying for this person's overhead, you know this person might be paying for the design software that they are using. You understand my point? So
mm,
all of those are factors that go into their charges, because this is a business the person is running. If the person is working from an office, that overhead has to be factored in. The person cannot be paying. I think you get me. Then
yeah.
there's also the issue of expertise as well. This person has a track record of delivering designs that satisfy the client and last, compared to people outside that might not have that kind of design principle. Again, these are also issues there. But most of all, I really think that it really just depends on the brand itself. Like, the value of a logo ultimately is determined by the brand. The logo by is not doesn't exist in isolation. It's an expression of the brand. It's an expression of this particular brand that you are building. You know what you are building. You know who it is for, and so on. So I believe that a logo can actually be hell. It depending on the people that own the brand itself, it can be worth millions. You can charge millions for it. You can charge as little as 50,000. Again, it depends on the designer. It depends on the brand. It depends on a lot of perceptions around it. So that's my answer. At least that's what I think.
So when someone is paying you a particular amount, like 800K, what are they actually paying you
I
for?
would point out one thing though. I would point out one thing though before I continue that. What I do currently, like again, if we're just talking about logo design, I have
Mm.
sort of expanded to what I call brand identity design. Well, not what
All
I
right.
call, what is brand identity design. This goes a little bit beyond just the logo itself. This also includes stuff like brand clarity, things like the tone of your brand, things like, apart from the typical stuff like colors and typography, we're getting into what this brand is. We're getting
Mm.
into who the brand is for, who are your target customers, and so on. So this was one of the reasons that I increased my price, because I was like, hey, look, I'm delivering a lot more than just a logo itself. I'm actually helping you to clarify what your brand is, so that you, as the business owner, can make informed decisions going forward. I think you get me. So,
Mm.
so this was one of the reasons that also initiated my price change, because more services, more value, I should charge accordingly.
Mm. Mm. So it's way beyond the technical stuff right now
Oh
to
yes, it
more of
is.
the psychological stuff.
Yes, I tell people that, look, for me, I tell people that the most critical and important part of what I do is actually the clarity session. And this has been proven because almost everyone that I talk to afterwards, because once I deliver work, one of the things I always like to do is immediately, because I would advise anybody, if you want to get feedback from your clients, don't wait for a month or two, to ask them for feedback. Ask them immediately, or give them a day or two and ask them. So what I like to do is ask them, okay, tell me about our service. Like, what did you like the most about it? What do you feel that we can improve on, and so on? And one of the things that has been most consistent has been the clarity session, because the clients will tell me things like how, the clarity session helps to widen their scope, or widen their horizon. They even get to discover things that they weren't thinking about. Like one client told me that the clarity session even pointed at an area that she was losing money on. So, and so on. So for me, it's not just the technical bit, that psychological bit, because You know, when people talk about what a brand is, they say that the brand is what your brand is what people feel about you. And if you think
Mm,
about it, that isn't just the physical product or service. Yes, it is part of it, but the psychological part is what is really driving it. So yeah, that's
mm.
that's a major part of what I do now. Sorry, I rambled a bit.
No, 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 no. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and that's the truth. You understand? Is that is the human connection part of it?
Oh
Um,
yes, yeah,
that
yes,
that is most important. Um,
yes.
if you can sort out the human connection part of it, a business is well on its way.
Oh yes,
You solved a huge problem just by because that in itself is the identity problem. It's not the logo.
oh
It is
yes,
number one the values, the audience, the
yes,
internal values, the culture
yes,
around whatever brand. Those are the hardest
yeah.
things.
Oh yes,
The
that's.
logo is the easy part. The
Oh
logo
yes, those are
is
the hardest things.
comparatively, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are the
you know,
hardest things.
your logo can be stolen, or somebody
Mm,
can copy it and rip it off. But the chances that people can rip off your culture that
mm,
comes from those psychological things, like you
mm,
mentioned, things like your values, if like somebody said, if your business is taken away from you, as long as those fundamental inward things like your vision, your client base, your values, your principles are intact, you there is still a high chance you can rebuild. There's still a high
true.
chance you can still rebuild again because it's like the roots. There's still hope for this tree even when it is cut down, as the scripture says. So yeah.
And
And
yeah,
speaking of the human aspect, sorry, I just remember that for me, one of the parts of my business that I value and I look at is I think of it more as like helping people. Like people are small and medium businesses, especially in this Nigeria. It can be scary doing this work here. You are
mm,
launching into a business, it's terrifying because you might be going from a steady 9 to 5, or you might not even have a 9 to 5 at all, and you're just venturing into a marketplace that is uncertain. So, having somebody to help you along the way, somebody to encourage you, cheer you on, listen to your ideas, and also tell you truthfully but gently if this does not work, or why don't you try this, or okay, let's talk about your client base, helping you to realize what you want to do and where you want to go. It's a very comforting thing for them. So like you said, the human aspect, critical.
mm. And there are two books I've read in the past 2 years right now. One I'm currently reading, and the one I'm currently reading is Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. And the first one I read, I think early last year, was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and it's incredible. Both of them, the Shoe Dog is about the establishment of Nike as a shoe company, and
Okay.
the one about Jobs is talking about Steve Jobs as the founder of Apple. And it's interesting how they talk about these things and know. I think in branding we make a little too much of a big deal about that trademark. And so when I read about these companies, it's very interesting how they spend very little time talking about the trademark in terms of the visual identity, whether the swoosh or the beaten apple. Like in Shoe Dog, it was about a few pages where they talked about how they commissioned somebody to do the logo for them. The logo
Yeah.
in itself, he said he wasn't really big on it. You
Yeah,
understand?
he said it will
So
grow on him.
he said
He
it would grow
hopes
on
it will
him.
grow on him.
It wasn't really big on him, but after a while, he got to like it some more. With the more he fell in love with the company, the more he accepted all the other things around the company. But when I read about
Yeah.
Apple, they hardly talk about that logo that we talk about. When they talk about every single thing, it's the what they talk about is the aura of simplicity, the aura of
Yeah.
customer experience. They don't
Yeah.
focus on those things. So he hardly even talked about the logo in the book. At least as far as I've got to know, he hasn't. He he spoke about it once, and it was someone asking, telling him to interpret the meaning of the logo. Oh no, not to interpret. It was the person was saying my daughter thinks you got the inspiration of this logo from, and she gave a story. And he said, well, that's a brilliant story. I wish that was the story of the logo, but it isn't. And that's as much as he said about the logo in that.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's the human thing, it's the culture, it's the
Oh
customer
yes, it is.
experience, it's the
Yeah.
audience. Those things matter a lot. Now,
Oh yes.
you want something else?
Oh no, no. I just to add
Okay.
a little bit, it's that human aspect. Like
Mm,
I think for me, the journey from that also reflected in changing my prices was I began to ask myself, okay, so you're making logos for these people, right? It's all great. But again, consider your target market. How useful would the logo itself be to them just by itself?
mm,
And I began to think about it and I said, and I found myself not feeling very comfortable with just delivering the logo itself. And I was like, okay, what can I do more in order to help, my client base? And it was then that I started going into brand identity. Now some people that know that there's brand identity, there's brand strategy. Now I don't consider myself a strategist. Yeah, I've dabbled in a little bit of it, but yeah, my interest is not really there. But I did take some elements from that brand strategy part to add to what I'm doing in brand identity, which is where things like, okay, let's sit down and talk about your brand. Because like you said, in the case of Apple, the logo is a great part of it, but it's that simplicity, the customer experience, like you said, the aura around it.
mm,
I have an Apple product, and it isn't the logo that created that. It
mm,
wasn't the logo that they didn't just slap the logo on the Apple and then all of a sudden everybody began to think of this product as, ooh, it's so simple. No, it wasn't just the logo. It was a combined effort of, okay, who is our customer base? What is our values? What are our principles? And then they took
mm,
all of that and
mm,
fashioned out an experience, both visual, psychological, in the way they talk, in their um, in their employees and so on. And they created this over a period of time. And this is what Apple is today.
mm.
The
That's
only
so
reason
true.
the logo is iconic is because the brand is iconic.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, because the brand is iconic. I know. You're talking about the experience. I have a friend who I was talking to, and he does beat production. He does production for music. And I asked him how he got started, and he just said he started when he bought his Apple laptop,
Yeah.
and he said they have like an app there called, I think, Studio or something. Because I don't use a Mac, so but he said something interesting. He said that the one thing he likes about Apple, the company, is the fact that they help you to start on the next level, not on the ground level. So if you are going to be a designer, and just by virtue of buying that Mac, the, the, the tools they give you allow you not to go to primary one to start graphic design. So they already allow you to use the, they already present you with good font a font package that will not allow you go and start searching for, oh, this font is ugly. The laptop already comes with tools that allows you to go past the initial ground building level. So for
That's
him as a
awesome.
designer, he just said, man, the first thing there when he started using it, they gave them some free bits to use, and they told them they could build on those free bits, on those samples,
Ooh,
and
nice.
those things were free. There's no copywriting or anything. You are free to use them. It's just to start off. So if you wanted to start making beats, you don't have to think of what beats do I have in my head. Start with their foundation that they have under their I'm forgetting what the word is called, something studio. I've forgotten what it's called. But then say just
Yeah.
start with that and build up on that. You understand? So, and that's very empathetic. It tells you that
Yeah, it is.
if just by having a Mac and you're a business owner, there's already a template for business cards. So if you don't need to know, you don't need to have a graphic designer design a business card for you. They already
Ooh.
have templates for business cards for an Apple user that happens to be a young entrepreneur. Doesn't have any money to have business cards. He wants to do decent business cards. Just use their templates. You understand what I'm saying? So they just
Yeah.
allow you just get past the initial grunt work and get to the next level where you can start getting traction by yourself. So
Yeah.
in the end, that's the brand. You understand? And for that, my friend that was talking to me, he told me you can never leave Apple because of that. You can never
Yeah.
because of that because they
Yeah.
helped him in his career. But then
Yeah.
now that we're talking about careers, I want to talk about the work of
Okay.
the work itself, not actually the design bit of it, but the work itself.
Okay.
Um, Now between 2021 and now, what have you gone through any difference in emotion concerning your work? Like, do you think for you, are, are you still um what what has your passion level been like? Yes, you've gone from 5K to 500K. You've gone from 500K to 800 and something K. But so the finances has changed. But
Yeah.
internally, has anything changed in terms of how you approach work?
Oh well. Yes, most definitely. Truth is, when I got for years when I was running the business, I was always running under a lot of tension, you know, a lot of
Mm,
tension and anxiety. And of course, being a Nigerian living in Nigeria, dealing with personal issues of home and family and stuff, and of course, wanting stuff to work out, wanting to do well and not be a burden to other people. There was always this every day I'd wake up with feeling absolutely tense, very tense. Okay, I need to work, I need to put stuff out there, I need to create content on my socials, Facebook, WhatsApp are the major ones that I use. I need to
mm,
attract these clients, and I would go for days. My days were spent under that tension. My days were spent constantly feeling anxious. I don't know if any designer listening to this probably feels the same way, but if you do, there's hope for you just as there's hope for me. But I was constantly tense.
mm,
And the tension would ease a little bit when I got a client and I was working on a project. But inevitably, once I delivered the project and once I got paid, it wouldn't be like, go reach up to 2 days. That tension is back again because,
back
now
again.
you're up to the next, now the next client. And, within that tension and anxiety, then there will always be that, if only I could hammer one client like this that
Mm,
could pay me like 50 million something so like I can stop worrying about finances and stuff for like several years. I get me. I think you get me and stuff.
mm,
But eventually, and this is where I thank God for was there was uh, God intervened, Father intervened, as I like to call him, Father intervened, and something happened in my household. I won't go into the details here, but it was a bit of an accident that had to do with my folks. And after doing all the hospital runs, making sure that my folks were okay, and brought them back home, I noticed that once I got back home after the whole issue was more or less sorted out, all the desire that I had to do design work and stuff was like poof, gone.
mm,
Like I would wake up every morning, I'd sit in front of my laptop and I would just be staring at it. You know, there was no content in my head. There was no like, I, it was almost like I couldn't be asked to do anything at all.
mm,
Yeah, I was trying, and it alarmed me for a bit because I was like, for somebody that has been running on tension for years, once that tension seems to now be gone, once that tension seems gone, it's almost like, how am I supposed to work now? So I tried and I tried and I tried, and nothing was coming, and it bothered me. And of course, because I'm someone who I pray, I talk to God. I believe that God is a person that actually talks back.
mm,
You know, we could go into the whole theology of that, but maybe some other time. But I believe God talks back. And the more I prayed, the more I got the impression that this was not, Father was doing something and that he was putting me on pause.
mm,
On pause because as I was saying, my emotions for doing work back then were focused on my ability to make this happen. my ability to put out good work, create content, stressing about it all the time. And even I could tell that it was killing me because you know you could see, and the thing is, you can see the evidences. Your blood pressure is constantly high. You are constantly looking frazzled. Your mind is never settled. You can't even relax for a bit. You are restless all the time. And it was like the father had just put me on pause. So for a while I didn't do any work whatsoever. I was just going day by day, and it wasn't easy. It was just like, what am I doing? Like, time is going. I need to get on this stuff. But that was how it was. And over that time, Father began to teach me things, and I began to understand that, hey, look, work is a blessing, right?
Mm.
It's a blessing. But the way you've been going about it, it's almost like it's a curse.
Mm.
I'm your father. I got this. I will help you and I will put you through. This particular year has been probably a very interesting year. Now, you know a bit about this because you are one of the people that counseled me about this time. But this year has been very interesting because provision just kept coming in various ways, and I didn't beg. I didn't
Mm.
borrow. I didn't do anything. And eventually, once, I found myself feeling a lot freer, a lot more calm about work. Work then began to come from different places, places I never even looked at. The work would just come from people like, I can say that this year I probably did the least marketing I've ever done in terms of work. And yet I could say that I've made more money than I've made in previous years when I was all over the place, running around, trying my absolute best. So, again, I know it sounds like a cliche, especially in Nigeria, where we talk a lot about the grace of God, and we talk about people, which is true. We talk about people that just use God as an excuse to be unproductive. They are in church 24 hours a day, they won't work.
Mm.
Rather than opening their shops on time, they are praying in the morning. No, that's not there. While that is bad, there is still for me anyway, like, I don't know those that are listening to, but this is my own, is that God is still a father, and a father
Mm.
provides for his children.
Mm.
A father takes care of his children, and father does not set you up to fail.
Mm.
Father won't give you a job to do and then right into that job failure and say, this is your you are going to fail at this job. You are going to fail at this job. You are not going to be able to, nothing good will come from it. If a seed is sown, it is pleases the Father that it bears much fruit. So in terms of emotions, that has been mine. Like, there's been a lot of change within when it concerns work, my perspective about work, realizing over and over again that it is the grace of God. At the end of the day, it is God that woke you up. It is God that has put that business or that job in you, and it is He that brings it to pass. So even as you go into your day working, always having that mindset, it changes a whole lot, because you'd be surprised how just a little mental shift can change a lot, about your life. You may still be doing the same thing, but you're doing it differently. I know this for a fact in branding. Like, if you change your thinking about your business, it can affect your productivity. It's the same here too. So I don't know if this makes sense. I'm just I'm
Yeah,
just
it makes a
speaking. Yeah.
whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. And one of the reasons why I wanted us to come back to this conversation was because, personally, we have been interacting, and I
Yeah.
realized that you have made way more progress than that one we have we put out in our public conversation in
Oh
2021.
yes.
And I wanted people to understand that a lot of times progress is not always in increasing your financial capacity. It's not
Oh no.
always that. And that's why I realized that when people listen to that podcast, they're like, oh man, I want to make this much progress. But then what I wanted to highlight, which you said very beautifully, is the fact that you can making progress financially, but then you are doing it from a place of internal hustle, internal
Oh
turmoil.
yeah.
It is
Yes.
never enough. Yeah,
Eh,
and it's just like as you are eating it, your stomach is rumbling
yeah.
again. You're like, where is the next food going to come from? And you're totally
Exactly.
not enjoying the journey. You
Yeah.
understand? Because a lot of times, when you go on platforms like X and LinkedIn and stuff like that, we have a lot of people saying, "Oh, I just got this client. I just got my first $10,000 job, my $100,000 job, and then we just imagine that this person, by virtue of working this financially rewarding job, is happy, and their life is all sorted out. But we both know that that's not the case. A lot of
Oh, I
times.
know. Yeah, if I was to chip in something to
Yeah,
those
go
that
ahead.
are listening, I would say this. Please, by all means, have goals, have financial goals. Hey, if you want
Mm,
to make 10 million creating a logo, by all means, go for it. I would love that myself. But I will point
mm,
out that 10 million isn't going to make you happy.
mm,
Pata the
mm.
buzz that you get from getting it might last 48 hours if you are lucky.
But I'm telling you,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
48,
That
if you are lucky,
if you
48
are lucky,
hours. For
if you are
if
lucky,
you are lucky.
yeah,
I know from
yeah.
experience that my buzz doesn't last after maybe like a couple of hours, the buzz is gone. And the tension
I'm
now comes
telling you,
back and says, okay, Alpha. Now,
you are so right.
okay, now you have paid. Okay, money has come. Very good. Right. Oh, yeah. The next thing.
The
And then
next
of
thing,
course, if yeah, and then when and now juxtapose that with what if you are living in Nigeria with the economy and stuff, if you are somebody who is running on your own ability, you will get stressed because for every money and every increase you make, it seems almost
mm,
like the economy is saying that we will not allow you to enjoy that money. We're not allowed to enjoy that
mm,
money because prices will now go up. So maybe you finally hit 200, but by the time you hit
mm.
200, that thing that 200 could get you before, it can't get you that anymore. You see the
Yeah,
stress. So
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
plead with anybody listening that look, it, God and Jesus have gotten a lot of bad rap, especially amongst we
Mm,
Nigerians when it concerns work, because there's a lot of
mm,
we're afraid that Christians are so unproductive, and yeah, there is truth in that. But
mm,
at the end of the day, there is still truth in what Jesus said that look, your heavenly Father will take care of you. He thinks
mm.
about you. Every number
Yeah.
on your every hair on your head is numbered. He
Mm,
knows every bit of your heart. He knows your beginning from the end. He knows everything in between. The job that you are doing is not foreign. He's the one that put it inside of you. And even if you are in the wrong job, he has the right job for you. So the idea is this is not to throw away all work and say, I'll sit in my room and God will drop money from there. No. This is to
mm,
change your mind. As you go into your business, remember, always remember that it is God that provides. You can go into battle like David with nothing, or you can go into battle with, because David didn't always have just a slingshot. Eventually, he upgraded to a sword and a shield, but he always remembered that the victory is of the Lord.
mm.
So, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry for that.
Really.
Apology.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No. I think, what I see a lot of young people do is that they try to separate spirituality from productivity. And they don't understand that it's spirituality that makes every single bit of productivity make sense.
Yep.
So, I'm going to share something right now. It's a personal experience between you and I, but I'm going to bring it out right now, and I think it's important. So please do forgive me for bringing it to the light.
Sure, please go on.
But early this year, early this year, I was in that zone where I was like in some serious financially strapped. I was going to, at that weekend, I was totally sad and just totally just felt, what's the use? What's the use of doing all I'm doing, and I'm still
Yeah.
going from having one breakthrough in terms of finances coming in, and then the tension comes again, and then I'm just trying to look for money. And that weekend
Yeah.
was so miserable for me. And
Yeah.
I remember having conversations with my wife, and you know how when it rains it pours. That weekend my gen spoiled, and then I thought it was going to be a little thing, and then the guy told me to take our last, I've forgotten how much we had in our account then, but he said the gen guy told us we had to change the coil or recall the stuff, and he said it was going to cost all about 80K or something, and that was going to be, I think in the account we had like 90K. And some people say, 90K, you're a big boy now, but people don't understand that it's a different thing when you have responsibilities and dependents. So
Oh
when I
yeah.
went to, I told my wife, man,
Don't know.
this guy is saying he wants to take 80K from our 90K. What are we going to
Ha.
do? And my wife said, do we need the gen? Say yes. Then let's pay it. That answer didn't sit well with me. But she said something, said, if the money is available, use the money for what you need to do now. So, I
Yep.
just went and just paid the money. The interesting thing, that next Sunday was a very, very miserable day for me. I went to church and I was all miserable and grumpy and like, what am I praising God for? What am I? It doesn't make any sense. But then, that day you called me. No, you didn't even call me. You had sent me some money. And I looked at my phone and I said, I told my wife, I think someone sent me some money. Is this a mistake? You understand that kind of thing? And I realized it had come from you. And I asked why you sent me that. You understand? I asked why, and you just said you just felt led to send it to me. And I
Yeah.
was so appreciative because that was the time when I was totally low. And that provision that came through you was a validation that God still loved me. You understand? Because there was no
Wow.
work to do at that time. And that day, remember you had sent me one before, and then later in the day,
Yeah.
you sent me even more. You said somebody had said they didn't want the one you wanted to send to them, and you sent more. And
Yeah.
I will never forget that story. Never forget it. Never. And that's why I kind of say spirituality and productivity, they go hand in hand. Because there are times when you feel unproductive and you feel
Yeah.
like because you are not productive, there won't be provision. And that's how I felt
Yeah.
that time. But no, spirituality makes you know that it's way beyond that. The
Yeah.
productivity in itself is a pro is it the height of productivity is knowing that you are you are in a relationship with God. You understand?
Yeah.
That in itself is the most productive act any human being can have, an awareness of God. And so when that happened that time, that day that you sent me that money, um, I still think about it today. And when I think about it, I'm like, why am I scared? Why am I scared of times when I have money and when I don't have, when I know that God looks out for me every single time. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's what I also want to understand here today, that no amount of a good paying job or an outstanding rate card will fill the gap of knowing that God is looking out for you.
Yeah.
Um, there is there,
Yeah.
there is there's a series on Netflix. It's called Murder Mindfully. It's new. Murder Mindfully. I watched it and I think it's a really good series. On the surface, it has a very morbid type theme, but when you look deep into it, you realize that it teaches us that sometimes you can be good. It's about a lawyer who was working for this very successful law firm where he was being paid well. He had a great house and stuff like that. But then with that came the downfall of his marriage, his relationship with his kid, his happiness, everything just spiraled down. But professionally, he was doing well until he started being mindful about the things that were important in his life. Did
Yeah.
he start having clarity about life? You understand? So, a lot of times, what I really want people to know is that in the end, it's really the spirituality that gives us clarity about
Yeah.
life.
Oh
Sometimes we
yeah.
get so driven about, oh, I want to do this, but then even even before you went from 5K to 500K, you know, even at that 5K level, you could be at peace. You understand? Trusting God to take you each day, each day, each day to this place where you are. But a lot of times we go through a hustle. We try to hustle our way and just believe
Yeah.
that until I make this money, then man, it's no go sure for me. You understand? But then what I really wanted people to get at the end of this conversation is the fact that you are not just successful as a designer career wise because you are able to call of a particular amount or demand or to attract a particular amount, but you are able to be successful as a designer because you are able to do it from a place of rest. Right now,
Yes.
where you are, we talk a lot and we hardly even talk about, I realized that 2 years ago, you'd come and say, I'm so thankful that I have this client paying me so and so amount. I just got
Yeah.
this. But now you are thankful for other things. You understand? That
Yeah.
are much
Yeah.
deeper. And I'm glad you've been able to share share that right now with people to just really get some
Yeah.
context that, look,
Yeah.
after the 500K, there's still life. It doesn't sort out everything. What sorts out
It
everything a
won't.
lot of times is the internal, that internal spiritual equation. If that is right
Yeah.
on your inside, then
If I
then
could,
then you're
if
doing
I could chip
successful.
in, if I could chip in something else also,
Yeah, go ahead.
for anybody that might be listening, when you hear about God, the forgive me for going into this, but generally the message, especially in this part of Nigeria, has to be spirituality, especially the way we teach it in this corner of Nigeria, is God's provision depends on how much you labor for Him. And for me, over the years, I've come to realize that that's a bit of balderdash. The world may be hard, but God is not. The world may be hard, but God is not. It's not based on how much you labor for Him. It's based on His love for you. And if your mind is screaming, I need a Bible verse, my pastor said this, I will just have you remember. None of us labored for, I'm talking to Christians right now, Christians that believe in Jesus. None of us labored for Jesus to come to the world.
Mm,
You were not alive when Jesus showed up. And even if we were all alive, how much prayer and fasting and giving and sowing and working in your temple, at least it was the temple back then, can you do that you can say at this point, I am provoking God to deliver Jesus to
mm,
save me?
mm,
If you cannot, if your answer is no, then you must realize that if Jesus came for free from God because He loves you, is it that naira that you are looking at that God cannot and will not provide? I'm not saying don't work. By all means, work is a blessing. It is a blessing from God. Most people, the world treats work as a curse. This is where you get a lot of the memes, the TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And then when Monday is coming, people start panicking. You've probably seen the memes, but it's not, work is a blessing. If we go from Genesis, God created man, created a garden, put man in it to till the garden. It is a blessing. But at the end of the day, it is still God that provides. It is still God that walks through you and makes things happen. So please, as you go forward into your day, into your week, whenever you are listening to this, just remember that, as Mr. Tola said, God is looking out for you. You know, God is actively looking out for you. God is actively filling the gaps. God is actively making things work on your behalf. So I think I'll stop there, or else we can keep talking about that for hours. So yeah, please carry on, sir. Sorry for that tangent.
yeah, no, no, no. I think that's a perfect place in which to hang our conversation.
Okay.
I think someone really needed to hear that, and I
Yeah.
think it's a great way, it's a great mentality to go into the end of the year and to look forward to a new year. So thanks a lot for Dotun for taking the time. I always
Oh, this
enjoy
was
having.
wonderful, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know someone will find a lot of value in this and would want to reach out to you. If they wanted to reach out to you in terms of working and design and stuff like that, how can they reach out to you? How can people reach out to you?
Well, mostly people reach out to me mostly on WhatsApp, on my WhatsApp
Mhm.
number. Can I drop it here?
Sure, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, just in case anybody is listening abroad that wants to, reach me as well. My WhatsApp number is +234 706 225 9786. Right?
Okay, that's great. So anyone that
Yeah,
wants to
that's
reach
my
out to
WhatsApp.
Dotun, reach out to him in terms of work. You want to reach out to him too. You enjoy anything I've said so far. You just want to share some things with him, validate him on, anything he has said. I guess they'll be free to reach out to you too on that. Adi, Dotun.
All right.
All right then. So thanks a lot for
So,
taking the
sir,
time,
thank you.
Dotun. Yeah,
My
thanks. It's
pleasure,
always
sir.
good
Thank you so
talking to
much.
you.
Bye bye.
All right, take care of yourself.